So in simple terms, the Ethereum network is slow and expensive, and we make it fast and cheap.
You know that one prime minister from Norway once said that it is typical Norwegian to be good. So you sound like a Norwegian.
Our secret sauce is, I would say, first of all, bringing experience from having built products used by millions of users, and many of us working and coming from different industries where we understand what businesses require in terms of total cost of ownership, return of investment of running a large solution to provide a global service, and also what users expect. Right.
Really, really great to have you here today, Jacobo Toll-Messia. I think we have tried about a couple of years to have this type of conversation.
We have, and first of all, it's very good to be here. So thank you for having me. And yes, we have tried on and off, but for about 2 years, I think. So it has been difficult times, has been really busy times. So thank you for your patience, and I'm sorry that we couldn't make it earlier, but at least here we are now.
Yeah, here we are, and we are happy for that. But we have followed you on the sideline, of course. We have both you and your company, and maybe for a lot of our Norwegian or Scandinavian listeners, maybe Nahmi isn't that known. So perhaps give a short presentation about your background and Nahmi.
Absolutely. So my background is in software engineering. I've been working in the industry since 1995 when I was in university. I was already working as a junior developer. And then later on in my career, I moved to London, where I spent 7 years working in banking, telco, and clinical research. And then the last 20 years, I've been here in Norway, where I also worked for some years in the oil and gas. Then later on, about 16 years ago, I set up a company, and which is the current company. At first, we had a Web2 product where we did content aggregation and distribution. We had a fair amount of success working with large enterprises such as Telenor, TCL, Alcatel, Panasonic, ByteDance, and a few others. And late 2016, we were looking for a technology where we could leverage the knowledge of the content industry that we had. And that's how we ended up discovering Ethereum. So one thing led to the other, and then we end up doing a pivot within a pivot. And that's how we end up building infrastructure for the blockchain. So in simple terms, the Ethereum network is slow and expensive, and we make it fast and cheap. And we have been working on that since 2017.
And you're living in Norway, and the company, is that a Norwegian company, or is it a remote and a global company today?
So it is a Norwegian company, and I'm living in Norway, correct? Headquarters is here. But in terms of the manpower, we're absolutely decentralized. So we have people all the way to the west would be Argentina, Spain, UK, Norway, Nigeria, India, and Thailand. So we are present in a few continents and many countries, and we work asynchronously. Yeah.
That's the way to do it today, I would think. Regarding the platform, you are scaling the Ethereum platform, and what is your secret sauce?
Our secret sauce is, I would say, first of all, bringing experience from having built products used by millions of users, and many of us working and coming from different industries where we understand what businesses require in terms of total cost of ownership, return of investment of running a large solution to provide a global service, and also what users expect, right? So I would say those are the kind of two key elements of our that contribute to the secret sauce, right? And then, of course, on top of that, being lucky enough to have together or having a team around us of engineers that are very talented, and having people with a lot of experience in the blockchain space. So all those things combined made us design a layer 2 protocol that would offer, again, instant finality, no latency, and predictable fees, amongst other unique selling points. Also, back in 2018, we filed in a patent to protect basically the IP that we had built, which has been approved both in Europe and in the US. Now, what sets us apart from the competitors is, for instance, the fact that we don't perform those periodic commits back to the base layer. as rollups do. Rollups is a category of scaling protocols, and most of them fall under that category today. And rollups have got some pain points. One of them is that the total cost of ownership of running a rollup is very expensive because Ethereum is expensive, and they need to constantly talk to it and back those transactions and then back. And also that makes the transactions expensive, although now there is a brand new upgrade being deployed by Ethereum, which is going to make them way cheaper. So all in all, our secret sauce is understanding of what it requires for businesses to adopt the technology, what users are after, mixing the right amount of knowledge, and then having good engineering resources just to take it to life.
You said there was some downside to the roll-up way to do it, but is there any downside to your way to do it?
Absolutely. There are downsides to everything. So life ultimately is about compromises. So the question is, what compromises do you want to take, right? So if we're talking about building a network on a blockchain that ultimately what it does is transfer value, then you need to understand who are the most obvious actors that will adopt that technology, which is basically enterprises, companies, individuals that would like to transfer value from A to B. And then you need to understand what today, in today's world, in the form of fintech, what services can they use and what are the unique selling points that offers to them. And one of them is the finality of those transactions. And the other one is the ability to know how much it's going to cost me to transfer value from me to you. Right? So those are some of the downsides of the rollups. They will claim, though, that they are more secure because they do those periodic patches back to the base layer. That's, without getting too philosophical, that is a fallacy. That is, of course, a propaganda that was written and sold by some of the guys at the top of the food chain of the Ethereum world. And if you would measure us against those metrics, then yes, absolutely, they would say that we're worse off than them, right? But we have to agree to be able to disagree. Right? So that is our point of view.
And until now, you have been cheaper, as I understand. That is one of your values. But rather recently, there has also been an upgrade in the Ethereum ecosystem, where a lot of the layer 2's platforms then will also be cheaper to use. Do you still have an advantage?
Oh, absolutely. So it is important to, so let me roll back. So most of the narratives that are discussed in an open forum when it comes down to blockchains, they tend to come from 2, 3, 4 different actors, right? And those actors might have different agendas. Yeah. So until recently was rollups versus sidechains. So if you didn't meet the criteria A, B, and C, then you wouldn't be a rollup. You would be categorized as something else. Right? Later on was rollups versus ZK rollups, and now later on was about monolithic networks versus more flexible networks. Now, because of the I think it's EAP 4844, it will be about prices, right? Which is fine. It's fine. I think that the world has experienced many industries with many services that had a race to the bottom in terms of prices. Now, are we going to have an advantage, or are we still going to be better off than most of them? I would say so, right? So we're about, Nahmii 3, which is the new version of the protocol, it brings some unique selling points that can absolutely, right out of the bat, can make us compete against prices. That is not a problem. First, we don't have a fee market like they do. Second, we're not affected, or the prices of the transactions are not affected based on the amount of traffic that our network might not have. Thirds, unlike them, we can actually fix the prices to whatever we want. Yeah. So because of these reasons, we know that we have an advantage. But even if we decided, because we can, if we decided to be 100x more expensive or 1,000x more expensive, believe it or not, that might mean that we could still have an edge, right? So I think discussing pricing of transactions by itself is naive at best, right? And why am I saying that? I'm saying that because ultimately, and as I indicated before, the blockchains help transferring value from A to B. Right? So you need to understand what use case you're best at fulfilling and fixing. So in some cases, you might have some actors transferring a specific amount of value, or some application, some solution that doesn't really matter if it is 5 cents or 1 cent of a dollar, right? So, but what is important though is to make sure that it's fixed, and that is as well something that we cover, that the rollups do not cover.
You know that one prime minister from Norway once said that it is typical Norwegian to be good. So
right.
You sound like a Norwegian.
Well, maybe because my wife has done the better of me. So no, but also I feel like, for many years to work with phenomenal engineers here in Norway, and it is true actually. In Norway, you find absolutely kick-ass engineers, superb engineers. I mean, well, in my years in the oil and gas, engineering excellence and operational excellence, that is a reality in this country. But I don't want to ignore many of the other superb engineers and people that we work with in many other places. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound too good. I mean, I have plenty of flaws, trust me. My wife would agree, and definitely all my colleagues would absolutely agree with that as well.
Now we've talked about Ethereum and layer 2, but lately also Solana has moved really heavy, both regarding users but not the least on the price. How can you compare it to Solana then?
I don't know that much about Solana. I have, so back in 2020, 2021, early 2021, some colleagues or some friends of mine in institutions had been prototyping with Solana as an alternative to Ethereum. I know that there and then the feedback that they got wasn't too good. So Solana wasn't that stable. It wasn't that great. But it is true that perform plenty of transactions very cheap. Solana probably has got a reputation of going down a couple of times a year. That is something that sets us apart from Ethereum, or Ethereum is apart from pretty much all the other ones. Based on what I've seen, Solana makes things very easy, which is good for mass adoption. We don't make things easy the same way as Solana does for users just yet, because we inherit some of the pain points of Ethereum. But it is true that we have been allocating a lot of time and resources to fix some of those issues, and those will be seen later on this year. We probably offer we have a way more flexible architecture than Solana. We have had downtimes in the past, like Solana. So that's, and again, I'm being critical of our mistakes in the past, right? But what is also true is that, we work with institutions, and institutions have looked at our architecture under the hood, and they like what they see. And certainly we can potentially offer a very strong alternative to Solana in some use cases. I still don't think that there is a silver bullet in the blockchain space. I don't think there's going to be one winner that will take it all. I think there will be many winners in different scenarios, in different verticals, or even horizontals. We'll see. But clearly, what we bring to the table is there is appetite for it.
These days, we don't know whether it will happen before or during or after this recording, but you have, after 7 or 8 months, testing Nahmii 3.0, and you are moving towards the mainnet. What is the upgrade from 2.0 to 3.0? What does it mean?
So the public testing has been going on for more than that, has been going on for 15 months. So a long time. And let's touch wood. We haven't really found any major vulnerabilities and flaws. Keep in mind that we always try to bring to the table the best possible engineering practices when we build software. This comes as well from the fact that most of us are older and we have been around, financial institutions and oil and gas, where basically when things go wrong, they can go very wrong and people can die. So we take things very seriously. Now, in terms of what brings Nahmii 3 different to Nahmii 2 is Nahmii 3 is going to be fully EVM equivalent, which is a big plus. Nahmii 2 was EVM compatible. We thought that was going to be good enough.
That's the virtual machine of Ethereum, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So the EVM is the Ethereum virtual machine, correct, which is the engine that will interpret the code that is being deployed to it. And the version that we're using, or the version that we have deployed of Nahmii 2 that is currently on mainnet, it is not good enough. Why is it not good enough? It's not good enough because if you would like to replicate code that exists on Ethereum onto our network, it's not going to work one-to-one all the time. In some cases will, in some cases will not. And that, of course, creates friction for developers and can damage the adoption, right? Can hurt the adoption. That is one thing. So Nahmii 3 is fully EVM equivalent. Second, there are some other attributes that we're bringing to the table that we have not yet spoken about publicly, but I will give you some hints. Some of those unique selling points are related to, or are targeting mass adoption, right? So there are specific things that we even did back in 2017 or 2018 when we released the first version of Nahmii, such as, for example, the ability to pay for transactions on the currency that you're transacting with. That we thought was very much necessary there and then, right? Said differently, if I have to send you Norwegian krona, why do I need to have different money in my bank account to send in? When you think about it. So that is definitely going to hurt adoption. Now, so again, EVM equivalence, we're bringing some new features that will ease mass adoption. Also, in terms of scalability, we are bringing in a new type of architecture that will ease scaling, that will ease the onboarding of potential institutions or larger players that would like to have their own corner of Nahmii and be able to take care of it themselves. So we bring a modular architecture that it is flexible and will ease adoption. And in simple terms, I'll divide it in 4 buckets. First of all, most importantly, we keep the same properties that we had before, instead of finality and latency. The other one, we bring a set of features that are targeting mostly mass adoption. We have this modular architecture, and then all these combined will help us to onboard institutions and large players if they desire to do so.
Let's change the topic a little, or maybe it's also related to the institutions that you are talking about, because you have been picked as one of the main vendors for Norges Bank, the CBDC project, which is in Norwegian is called Digitale Sentralbankpenger. And you have been a partner for them for a couple of years, I think. But that is not the Nahmii platform that they are delivering to them, because as I remember, they have been testing on a Hyperledger blockchain. But what are you helping Norges Bank with that?
So there are many things that I can talk about and things that I cannot talk about
Sure.
Norges Bank, as I'm sure you will understand. So yes, it is true that now for a few years we have been officially working with them and their partners and assisting them on the development of the sandbox and a few other things. Now, what you need to understand is that from a public procurement point of view, at least in Norway, in a place as transparent and as fair as Norway, there are things that institutions cannot do. So you cannot put out a contract that will immediately exclude, that based on the prerequisites of that contract will immediately exclude other players, right? So you need to make it as open and inclusive as possible. So because of that, there is no way that they would be able to say, we're looking for, a layer 2 called Nahmi, right, to build it. No, that just doesn't exist. So instead, they followed, as public knowledge, they followed the requirements of, or they put out the requirements of building on an open source platform called Besu. So we have been working with them for a few years now, first building the phase 4, which was the sandbox, the CBDC sandbox. And most recently, which this is public knowledge, so I'm not breaking any confidentiality, we were awarded a frame agreement to build phase 5 of the CBDC sandbox, or the CBDC platform. Now, what we are building within the phase 5, unfortunately, I can't talk publicly about it. I believe that as the work is being done and it will be released, Norges Bank will make a statement on it. But what I can say is that, as the title of the project says, we are building quite a bit of stuff, quite a bit of features within the CBDC.
But are you then working more as a digital consultant than an IT developer than a platform vendor, if you understand, in Norges Bank?
I would say that it is probably wider and deeper than that. I would say that we are a trusted partner, and we provide many years of expertise building solutions on the blockchain, advisory services as well. And of course, we're building a solution for them. Now, the details of that solution, I wouldn't think that we are software consultants. We definitely run away from that. We don't perceive ourselves as such, and we do this because of the opportunity of working with such a important institution such as Norges Bank. We do it because we understand that the opportunity is pretty unique. It opens many doors. Ultimately, we have dedicated many years of our lives and millions of dollars to build the platform that we have built. So our objective is that platform. Our objective is not to be a consultant at all. And by the way, the same exact words have been shared with them. So they know that we are not software consultants, nor we see ourselves as such. No.
But this is serious matter when we are talking about Norges Bank. So then maybe it's a good thing
Absolutely.
that you don't define yourself as crypto kids, as I understand.
We are, unfortunately, we're too old for that. Also, we are absolutely being accused on a weekly basis of being too boring and maybe too old for this industry. We take things very seriously, though. That is probably one of the things that sets us apart with most of the other teams. We work under the hood, we look ourselves a year at a time. We build, we always stick to our words. If we say something, we're going to do something, we do it. It may take us longer than others. But at the same time, you will not find anyone who can say anything bad. So we take ourselves very seriously. Not that seriously. We joke a lot, but when it comes down to the reputation, yes, we take it very seriously.
Related to the CBDCs, because I think there are about 130 countries all over the world that are in one type of phase, experimenting or researching implementation of CBDCs. Has the Norges Bank contract and the reputation that has given you, has that opened doors for you in other countries?
Absolutely, it has. Yes, it has. And then back to us taking ourselves very seriously. There are many things that we have done this last couple of years, which we have not publicly spoken about because, again, confidentiality. But yes, it has opened up many doors. Norges Bank, I believe that they are very content with the work that we have been doing with them. That has contributed to other third parties reaching out to us directly and indirectly. I mean, directly without Norges Bank in the middle, indirectly through Norges Bank. And it is putting us in a very unique place. Right? So our ultimate goal is to get an entire nation running on top of our infrastructure, and there's no secret to that. Hence, where I've mentioned before, we're not a consultancy company; we're an infrastructure company. And the relationships we have been able to build, the prototypes we have been able to put together with these other partners, it makes us believe that it is not a matter of if, but a matter of when we will have a nation running on Nahmi. Yeah.
And that is a rather heavy space where all the different blockchains and also what you could call the private blockchain vendors are moving into. But you're confident that you will be up and running on a one central bank platform at least?
Yes, I'm very confident. Also, I don't think that the private blockchains have got much to offer. This is an avenue that has been explored by many institutions in the past that end up the same way. So, and I know that there are some obvious names, famous names that we could name, but we're not going to name. What I can tell you is that I've got first-hand knowledge of many central banks having prototype with some of those solutions and dropping them because that's just not good enough. Those guys have got very expensive consultants, I will tell you that. However, ultimately, central banks, what they want to do is they want to be part of a public network, right? And they're realizing that. Of course, with public networks, other problems arise and other problems are inherited, and that is where we can come in, and we can fix quite a bit of those issues. Now, ultimately, it comes down to security, flexibility, and understanding of what the problem at hand is and how it can be solved, right? So, yeah, we feel very confident.
You talk a lot about institutions. Is that your target group? And what are institutions? Is it banks? Is it brands, corporations? What is it?
That's an excellent question. So, is that our target group? No, it is not a target group per se, and we don't want to be stigmatized that way. Although we have been, and we have been because we haven't played the crypto game, right? So let's just say that once again, what we build is infrastructure, right? And we need that infrastructure to be adopted. And today you have multiple ways to go to market, right? I would say that 99.9% of players in our space, they focus on one vertical only, which is crypto. Why do they focus on that? Mostly because the barriers for entry are very low. Second, because it has been proven that they can make a lot of money. Third, accountability and reputation is nothing. So we have seen hundreds, if not thousands, of examples where a project was deployed and they made a bunch of money and then they ran away with the money, right? That happens every day, and that's a shame. With that said, those users, the users that belong to that vertical or that category specifically, can be very, very, very valuable. It can be very valuable for a company like us to be able to prototype solutions, to be able to capture quick data points, right? Why? Because those users are superb and they're not afraid of anything. And you throw them anything and they will just catch it, right? And they will catch it and they will play with it. So it's perfect. It's fantastic. Now, our mistake, a strategic mistake in the past, has been that we haven't dedicated enough time to that user base, right? Now, with Nahmi 3 coming, is something that we're going to be fixing, dedicating more time to that user base. Now, because of our pedigree and the DNA that we had when we were working with large institutions before blockchain, we thought, okay, let's build something that institutions can adopt, because we knew that there was basically no users in Web3, right? And trying to convert all those guys and creating use cases for those guys to onboard 1 billion users was going to be too complicated. So instead, because we had an ongoing discussion with some institutions since 2018, we felt, okay, let's give this a shot, right? And the problem for us is that we started getting momentum, right? And because we don't play the crypto game per se, and people don't see us on that space, they think that we're just going after institutions. I would say that both avenues, ultimately the end justify the means, right? So these are two different roads that you can follow to get to the same place, which is onboarding a billion users. So yes, we are dedicating time and energy to these individuals and institutional side. And yes, we have not dedicated enough time in the past, but now we're going to be dedicating a lot more time to the crypto community. Now, last part of your question, what are institutions? So, well, there will be different definitions or to that question, depending on who you ask. But for us, institutions today are central banks, which are who we work with. But keep in mind that the moment that CBDC is deployed, and as you indicated, 134 central banks, I don't know the exact number. I know it's about approximately 90% of central banks in the world. But the moment that a central bank deploys a CBDC, the entire fintech and the entire financial infrastructure coming after it is going to have to be rewritten. And for many, many years, both of them will live in parallel, right? So the amount of opportunities that will come from it are humongous. So we have done some studies, and we know that we're talking about trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to be created. So institutions could be, for example, an existing bank that would like to adopt new solutions based on Web3, or the incumbent two guys shop that builds a brand new Web3 solution that does something that nobody else has been able to invent before. So what we know, though, is that real world asset tokenization is picking up. What we know is, of course, CBDCs are there. What we know as well is that many banks are, especially in the second half, on the tail of the bank category, are realizing that Web3 and CBDCs can bring new opportunities for them, because the guys at the top of the food chain, right, are too slow, right? And they're milking the industry. They're making a ton of money doing very little. So those guys will be probably the last ones adopting real cool solutions. So we are here, and we have built the infrastructure to pretty much service any of those guys.
So I sort of hear that there are two waves coming then. You have the tokenization of real-world assets, but you also have a building of a new ecosystem around the CBDCs, and both of them will hit the fintech and the old banks?
Oh, 100%. So I've just been traveling quite a bit this last year and a bit. I've met with plenty of institutions. I can tell you that, yes, real-world asset tokenization is happening, and it's just a matter, again, of when. It's not a matter of if. Right? What happened in January, was it 15th, with the Bitcoin ETF was a very it has been a very interesting event for the industry overall, mostly because it legitimizes crypto. I know it sounds ridiculous, right? That we have to wait for a multi-trillion asset company to an ETF and get adopted before what we believe is legitimized. But after that, many new solutions will pop up left and right.
But the ETF, that one was headed by BlackRock, which is the fat guy in the wealth management industry, you could sort of say. So how can you explain that if you think that the fat guys will try to change nothing?
Well, I think the fat guys have changed something, right? So the fat guys, we need to understand, first of all, how a fat guy got fat, and that's by making money. I mean, serious amount of money. The only reason why the fat guy decided to go and file in the Bitcoin ETF was because, yeah, you got it right. They knew they can make money, and they are making money. So last time I checked, I think the Bitcoin ETF is the 8th largest ETF. Has surpassed silver in terms of market cap. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it is the second biggest ETF. I believe that in a matter of 7 weeks, grew 40% of the gold ETF. So, which is something unbelievable. Nobody could have thought about it. Now, again, what BlackRock does, they only know, right? And they have an agenda, and they're pretty good at executing. But the perception of the world towards crypto, I mean, from my point of view, nothing has changed. I just know what Web3 can do and can bring to the world, right? And crypto, which is the first use case. But for all the other people that didn't know anything about it, now they believe that crypto is cool, or it has to be okay. Because if BlackRock does that, who am I to say otherwise, right? So let's just say that in the in the director table is easier to discuss crypto or Web3 or real world asset tokenization for that matter. It is a little easier now.
We were talking a little about the utilities or use cases, also for institutions, but also for the more crypto-related people. What are the most exciting areas for you guys then? Is it decentralized finance? Is it gaming? Is it NFTs? Or is it all about? Or is it none of these?
So that's an excellent question. So we are very passionate about what we do. So we could bring any of the 4 topics that you have mentioned, and we could talk about it for hours. So we're excited about all of them. But ultimately, focus is what we need, right? So we need to focus, and we need to become really good at something. So our main focus has been the infrastructure. Now we understand that pretty much these 4 use cases you have mentioned, and many of us will flourish at different times and for different reasons. I am personally quite bullish on the real world asset tokenization, also because of the geopolitical landscape and how it has changed the last 15 years, but how it's accelerating this last couple of years between Russia and Ukraine, unfortunately, and many other things, how power is being shifted, right? And how some decisions from some governments have affected the perception of the current fintech infrastructure, such as, if Bob decides to cut Alice from Swift, fine, but that's going to have repercussions, right? So Web3 brings an alternative to it. And clearly, I'm aware that many large governments are using it today to build alternatives to it. But of course, with those alternatives, and by the way, that is in some aspects an instigator at first, right? Because as soon as they get to experience with new technology, then they scratch the surface and they go deeper, and then they realize that they can transfer any kind of value in any way, shape, or form. So real world asset tokenization is, without a shadow of a doubt, a multi-trillion-dollar industry that it is being formed right now. I think that there is a big price tag for the early adopters. Ultimately, I think as well that one of the large asset managers will soon enough start releasing solutions. This will attract smaller guys, 2, 3, 4, 10 people bands who will build powerful solutions that will allow governments to attract money that otherwise it wouldn't be able to attract and bring it into the country. And that will have a phenomenal knock-on effect, right? Domino effect. So the money will come in and they will build more infrastructure, schools, hospitals, whatever. These are the kind of discussions that we are actually having with even some governments. So real world asset tokenization is a big thing. Gaming is fantastic. Unfortunately, when we talk about Web3 and gaming, the infrastructure isn't there yet. Again, you need that instant finality and no latency, or especially predictable fees, something that we offer that the roll-ups do not. That is why we don't see any really big gaming solutions being built. Somebody will say, no, but Polygon has got 17 games. Yes, they do, or hundreds or thousands maybe. But the reality is that you look at the transactions per second that they process, they don't. Right? So marketing doesn't equal adoption. That is one. And also NFTs did hurt quite a bit the gaming industry. Right? Because NFTs, amongst other things, they proved to be fantastic tools for money laundering. Most people in the industry don't want to call it that way, but it's true. There are many NFTs that have also added quite a bit of value to the overall ecosystem. But gaming is a big one. It's a big one as well that I'm super bullish on. Everything.
How will you utilize these opportunities then? As I understand, you have set up some different companies within DeFi or protocols or whatever. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it seems like you have different partnerships around the infrastructure. And is that the way you're going forward, to have partners that will help you grow outside of the infrastructure, but for different use cases?
So historically, we have been very cautious of partnerships, right? Because unfortunately, mostly in the Web3 space, most of the partnerships, they tend to be no real partnerships. Also, they tend to focus on rent seeking. So let's set up a partnership and you give me $100,000 and then we can tweet about it. That doesn't give me any money, to be honest. But most of them, they tend to be like that. So, but we have, you remember before I was mentioning that for many years we haven't really paid enough attention to the spaces. So yes, we have built quite a bit of products. So this last almost 2 years, or 2 years now, we have not only been working on Nahmii 3, but also we have built a small ecosystem of products that we'll be deploying. And that will help us to bootstrap and to start getting attention from the crypto community. Those products mostly fall under 3 categories, which is DeFi, games, and NFTs. And those products as well are designed to really showcase the power of the infrastructure that we have built, right? Because it is very difficult to, and this is something as well we have plenty of experience with, it's very difficult to convince any institution or any big player when all you talk about is overpowered, because everybody has got problems, especially in crypto. If instead you have the infrastructure that you have built, and you have built up the IP, you can show it to them, and on top of that you have built some set of products that leverage the power of that infrastructure, then it is a much easier discussion, right? Because you can tell them, this is how it works, you can see it here, you can touch it, this is what you can do, right? You can adapt X, Y, and Z, and then you can launch a product in 3 months' time and serve your millions of customers. So that is something that we have definitely done. Now, in terms of partnerships, yes, we do have some partnerships that we have established, and we will be probably announcing them as we go live on Nahmii 3 and start deploying solutions.
When I hear you talking and also compare it to what I've looked from the sideline, it looks like you have been building on the infrastructure, on the product, on the team, and on the community. But now you're ready for the market.
Yes, that is right.
Will it be then a really boost or will it be a bust?
I have no idea, but ultimately, when you run a company, you do your best, and you're going to control the outcome of it, right? What we know, though, is that we have built a lot of products, we have built a lot of value, and what we know is that there is definitely a market out there for it, right? So it might take us a while to get the crypto community excited about the products or whatnot. I think we understand what they are after. And we just need to put those items out there and see if they will want to use them, and they will go after it. The momentum that we have built on the institutional side is growing, so that isn't going to be it's not going to explode or implode anytime soon. At least that's what we hope. So it can only get better. It also can only get better because when you are locked up in a room for 2 years building, it gets tiring, right? And especially the last 10% is so utterly painful. So we just want to shift the damn thing, right? And turn the pace and renew the energy. Right? It's not the same building than maintaining. It's not the same, it is important for us. It is a very, very, very good inflection point. So I'm sure it's going to be pretty okay. I mean, the energy is there and we feel confident. So it's going to be fine.
So now you're going both for the institutional market and for the crypto market, but without becoming a crypto kid.
That's right. I mean, ultimately, we're going to have an open network that people will be able to go and do a lot of really cool, fun stuff. We want them to adopt it. We want them to use it. We want to, capture those data points. We want to iterate. We want to improve. We want to ship things. That is our job. That is what we want to do. While at the same time, we need to be more cautious and careful on that institutional side. The cycles do not happen and will not happen that fast. That is why we need to go faster here, so that can feed the other beast, the other part of the beast, right? So it is about finding a balance. It is about getting that pragmatism that we were talking about before.
Thank you very much then, Jacobo, for a great talk and interesting to follow you guys. And I hope that it will not be another 2 years before we talk again.
Definitely not. And thank you so much for having me. And again, I wish we could have done this earlier. And let's do this again in the next few months.
Yeah, but now the timing is good, I think. You have something to tell, so that is good.
I agree.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you, Morten. I appreciate it.